Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Arizona Dreamz. Subscribers appreciate you. New viewers, you gotta become subscribers so you get these awesome videos. Tonight I'm joined by the lovely Mrs. AZ Dreamz, and we are going to discuss Gilbert, Arizona, and is it too Mormon for us non-Mormons? So we're gonna jump right in, and first off, let me be clear. We don't have anything against LDS or Mormonism or whatever term you wanted to use to describe the Church of Latter-day Saints. And I have several Mormon friends.
Don't
do the cliche.
Don't do that.
Come on. I got black friends too.
No, please.
Anyways, we're going to jump right in and we're just going to talk about our personal experience. My wife is going to relate some of the stuff she's reading on boards and so on and so forth to give you some of our non-personal experience. With what it's like to be a non-Mormon in what is frankly one of the higher population of Mormons per capita, whatever, for a city in Arizona. Gilbert and Mesa are two very strong Mormon populated cities. So I'm going to start with my personal experience. About 11 years in the valley, 4 give or take in Gilbert, the other 6 or so in Tempe. When I was in Tempe, obviously I was not living in Gilbert, but I did hang out there pretty regularly in the downtown area. So I don't have school exposure at that point. I didn't have a family, it was me. We lived in northern Gilbert, and now we're back out here in Gilbert again. And I can say over the grand scheme and time frame of 11 plus or minus, I've had one incident that I've run into, and it happened with my daughter, not me. We had a Christmas party, and we told her she could invite one friend, and she had one friend picked out who she's apparently pretty chummy with, and extended the invite.
Just one day my daughter came home and she's like, I got a ton of questions for you from this girl's mom. I was expecting her to maybe want to meet me or want a phone call or something, but she just had these questions, and it was like, what church do you go to? What's your pastor's name? Are you Christian? What ward do you go to? And I was like, what is a ward? And then it just dawned on me, and I didn't even have to look it up. I said, I think they're Mormon by you asking me what ward we go to.
The girl responded and said, I can't come. It would appear to be that simply because we're not Mormon and they didn't know us, that she just didn't trust to put her daughter in their house. And I respect that, that's fine. I'm
not saying that that parent shouldn't have the right to decide what they do with their child. When you invited your friend and she came back and said that she couldn't go to the party, did she ever mention why her mom never just even wanted to talk to me or meet me or anything like that?
I don't know, cause maybe, I don't know.
To be fair to the mom, we wanted to not make an assumption into fact. We assumed because the family was Mormon, and one of the questions we were asked was, what ward are you in, that the reason it didn't go any further was because we weren't Mormon. But that, that may not be the fact. So it could be other things. At school, are there a lot of Mormons at your school?
Yes, there are a lot of Mormons at the school, a lot.
So how do you feel they relate to non-LDS kids? Are they hanging out with you? Are they kind of excluding you? Do you feel like you can't make friends with them? What's that situation there?
It's like 50-50, because the ones that I hang out with, they're nice and accepting. The other ones are they're too nice, if you know what I mean, too nice, and that's how they exclude. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I don't get it. How do they exclude? But they're
they're
too
just
nice.
they just give off this vibe that I'm gonna be nice to you, but I don't want to hang out with you, after school or anything like that. Or
right, I'm nice to you, but I don't really want to be your friend.
Yeah.
So, but it's not all of them. It's just some of them.
It's just not all of them.
Do they tend to hang out with each other, or do you find them kind of hanging out with non-Mormons and Mormons?
That's also 50-50, because my friend, and I'm not Mormon, she hangs out with me, and then my other friend is Catholic, and we all hang out with each other. I've been seeing Mormons together, so it's split.
Everybody's different. We don't want to lump all Mormons and say they're all this way, and none of them want to hang out with non-Mormons, and none of them will let their kids hang out with non-Mormons. I think it just depends on the person and how they approach their religion.
And like where you go. What school you go
what
to.
school and what school you go to. I've heard that there are non-Mormons and Mormons who are making friends in the schools every day. And then you hear sometimes there's a situation where the family feels like their children are being excluded for not being Mormon. But I think for the most part, I can comfortably say that I don't think if you come to Gilbert, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb, because the majority of people in Gilbert aren't Mormon. Yeah. They aren't. I think they are in the government. I know they're on some school boards, so they may be in positions of power, but at the end of the day, you aren't going to be the only non-Mormon on the block.
I will say that the adults don't seem to openly express the same concerns about other adults. My first boss in Arizona actually was a member of LDS, and I got to know his family and went to barbecues with his wife, his daughter. I told you I hung out with a couple of other members of LDS. Now, if you know anything about LDS, you're not supposed to drink. So we didn't go drinking, we just kind of hung out. I think that from my understanding and what I've talked to with my current boss, who's raised 3 daughters, and his wife grew up in Gilbert, it seems to be that they're allowed to associate, but they are definitely not allowed to date, and that's the big no-no.
Our first neighborhood, I don't even remember seeing very many children out. And the children, the first time we moved to Gilbert, the children we did see were Mormons. They were like teenagers, and they were usually riding their bikes or walking, and you can usually tell they're Mormons by the way they dress. They usually, the boys usually wear black slacks and white shirts.
There's a specific role
black
within the
ties.
church.
Well, I knew they were Mormons.
The boys that you are seeing, and they're usually, if they're teens, they're late teens. They're usually young 20s. But their job, their role in the church is to be out and to communicate with the neighborhood.
So are you saying that they didn't have a certain dress?
No, they did. The ones that did, but the ones that did aren't not all Mormons dress like
right. Well, I meant the ones that like probably go out and knock on the doors and
it's just like Jehovah's Witnesses, right? There's a lot of roles within LDS.
But those are the only young people I saw in that neighborhood. Our children were still young, and our daughter wasn't at that stage where she was inviting people to her house or trying to go to theirs. But the second neighborhood we were in, there was plenty of kids. I never noticed any issues. Our kids were getting invited to birthday parties all the time. It was normal. You know, I think some people get the idea that Gilbert is just so overrun by Mormons that every neighborhood you move to, you're going to be judged and excluded, and you're going to be asked if you're a Mormon everywhere you go. That's not been our experience. When you go out and you hang out at restaurants or downtown or to the parties, it doesn't come up. I mean, it's like living anywhere else. And I know that that's one of the questions that we get off and on from people who are moving to Gilbert, especially with kids, is, am I gonna go there and are my kids gonna be left with no one to play with? Are they gonna be in high school and they have no friends or no one to hang out with? Are we gonna be made to feel uncomfortable? I can only speak to that from our experience, and I would say, no, we haven't been made to feel uncomfortable. Even though we're surrounded by, oh my gosh, when we were looking for churches, I pulled up a map, and it was like this circle of LDS churches. I didn't even realize how just prevalent it was. I didn't realize.
At least 3 in under a 5-mile radius.
Yeah, so there is definitely a lot of Mormons here, but I don't feel like it directly affects our lives like that. Taking it outside of my experience, I'm not going to pretend that I haven't heard things. When we were moving here, went on city data, and that question came up more than once, so that got me curious. And I have read where parents have said, we go to this particular high school and a great majority of the students and the staff are Mormons, and my children are having trouble making friends. I think it depends on the individual experience. But do you feel like there's a heavy Mormon influence in the running of the town?
Yeah, It's a town that has 250 some thousand population. By definition, it's not a town, it's a city. And this
So
is
they're holding on to the town status.
Yeah, the rumor is that they're holding on to town status because if it goes to city status, they have to change some stuff with the way that it's governed and how leaders are elected and so on and so forth. And being a town, the Mormon Church has more control over that. That's rumors. Go look it up and see what's true and what's not. I know that a few of the leaders are Mormons, and I know that the Church of Latter-day Saints has some strong influence in Gilbert in general. It's definitely an influence. You're gonna have to go do your research to see and find and make your own decision on whether or not you think there's an influence on the town as far as LDS and the way that the town is run.
But knowing what we know now, would we change anything about moving to Gilbert with a family? No. I think we've had a really positive experience, and in our daily lives, I don't even notice. I don't even think about it really, except maybe when we pass a Mormon temple or something like that. So if you are living in Gilbert, have you had any issues with being, if you're a non-Mormon, living in the area, or if you're not in Gilbert yet, is that one of your concerns? Let us know what your feelings are and your opinions are in the comments.
As you know the drill, subscribe, share, like, comments down below. Check back for the next video and take care.
Perfect.